All right, time to discuss some highlights from Black Lightning Season 1, Episode 3. Just like, last week's episode, I do have multiple things to talk about with this one. And let's just get right into it, shall we? Number 1, I like the fight, the argument that the police officer, the cop, had with the Reverend. When he said that line to him, I'm out here in my work shoes scraping young black men's bodies off the ground. And you have, these nicer shoes. And I think he was kind of highlighting, maybe the hypocrisy of maybe some religious leaders, or maybe all religious leaders or whatever, they're out here on the pulpit collecting donations. And meanwhile, kind of looking at people from up high, looking down on people, kind of being judgmental. But meanwhile, there's people out on the streets getting their hands dirty, etc., etc. I'm not saying that, that's necessarily true or anything, or you have to agree with that. I'm just saying I like the opposing points of view that this scene and this show is highlighting. And I think this kind of showcases the fact that Black Lightning as a TV show, it has a whole tapestry full of characters in a community, and it's definitely trying to flesh a lot of these different people out and their relationships to each other. And to me, it adds a lot of depth to the show, and I like that. I like the fact that we have characters on here like fighting with each other who aren't necessarily the main characters per se. I don't know. These guys, they seem like they might shape up to be main supporting characters, but it just makes the whole show and all of the character interplay to me more rich and dynamic, to have these people opposing each other in certain ways. And, it can create a lot of storyline possibilities going down the line. Next scene, we have Anissa Pierce, aka Thunder, practicing how to use her powers in the junkyard. She's not calling herself Thunder yet, but she's going to become Thunder because that's who this character is in the comics. She's getting there. And we know that her sister Jennifer is going to get powers too, just like she does in the comics too. In the comics, she joins the Justice Society, and Anissa joins the Outsiders. But anyways, now in the show, we have 3 quote-unquote good guy superheroes, Black Lightning and his 2 daughters. That's 3 people. So I guess this show is going to need more superpowered villains for them to fight, right? I mean, we know that from the last episode that Tobias Whale seems to have super strength, so it can't just be him. There's got to be other people with some power, some gadgets too, or else, Black Lightning and his daughters are going to have a pretty easy time beating up everybody they run into, right? But anyways, this is definitely going to be a team or a family show, and a family of superhero shows, basically. And I just think that's interesting. Now I'm ready to see, who the bad people are with powers too, because it can't be too one-sided, or else, where's the fun in that? Next point, Jill Scott's debut as Lady Eve. Jill Scott is more famous, I think, as a singer, but from what I've seen of her in other things than this, she's a really good actress. And I was very curious and eager to see what her character was going to be like and how Jill Scott would play her, act the character. And, she just showed up in this episode, so we're going to have to wait longer to see how she, how she develops, what kind of person. But so far, so good. I thought Jill Scott's performance in her one scene where she was talking to Tobias Whale was pretty good. It was nice how she, she seems like someone who has the demeanor or the veneer of being very polite and, ladylike and stuff, but is, behind that very evil. It was good. I mean, I think she's a cool character, and it'll be interesting to see just what happens with her later. Next point, nerd shout out. When Anissa meets Grace for the first time in the library, Grace has an Outsiders comic, which is so awesome because both Grace in the comics and Anissa Pierce are members of the Outsiders together. They in like the 2000s or the 90s, and then they had a relationship in the comics, and they're totally building to them having a relationship in the show. But I just thought it was cool how the show was referencing, something that DC fans, the comic readers like me, are going to love seeing. Awesome. And then later on, if you look really close, they show kind of a close-up. Well, not really close-up, but you can look closer on the cover of the comic that Grace has. And you see the words Cobra, which is a reference to the shadow organization that Lady Eve works for in the comics. And that's who Jill Scott is playing on the show. So I think we're definitely going to see Cobra rear its ugly head or snake-like mini heads in this show. There was, curiosity and speculation, when Jill Scott was being cast as Lady Eve on the show, if she would be exactly like the character was in the comics, a villain for Cobra, or if she would just be, a regular crime lord. But I think this is a hint of foreshadowing that, if we have Cobra on a comic book cover in some kind of reference in the show that Cobra is going to show up in the show. And I think that, Lady confirms to me that Lady Eve's definitely going to be connected to Cobra, and Tobias Whale is going to be connected to Cobra. A lot of cool stuff, and I think it's great. For those of you who don't know, Cobra is kind of like DC's version, more or less, of Marvel's Hydra. They're like this shadow organization that, it has their hands in governments and stuff. A lot of comic books have organizations like that. The Hive and other things. And, that's who Cobra is in DC. And I can't wait. And then Grace also tells Anissa that there's going to be a cosplay party and that Anissa's invited and that she could be anyone she wants. Supergirl. And that was interesting because I guess Black Lightning, it doesn't take place on the same Earth that Arrow and the Flash are on, but I guess it takes place on the same Earth that Supergirl's on, the one with Melissa Benoist. Because if you remember, when Black Lightning first came out, the showrunners, Salim Akil and his wife, Mara Brock Akil, I think they said this show's not taking place in the Arrowverse, but I guess it's taking place in the Supergirl verse. Because if you watch the CW DC shows, Supergirl's not on the same Earth as Arrow and the Flash. So I guess maybe that this is where Black Lightning takes place on, and maybe he can show up in Supergirl and she can show up on his show. And, that's how they'll cross over into Arrow and the Flash by hopping dimensions like Supergirl's done on her show, which would be cool. And this also definitely highlights the point that in the pilot, when that guy in the news says, why are black superpowered people of color vigilantes, but other ones, I guess, the white superheroes are superheroes. And maybe that's who he's referring to, people like Supergirl and Superman. And I guess now there's a Batman too, because later on when Anissa shows up at that cosplay party that Grace invited her to, she's dressed up, to me it looks like she's Catwoman. So I guess in the Black Lightning universe, there's, the Bat and the Superman people, and that's exciting. Next point. Oh, by the way, when I'm looking down, I wrote some notes down to help me remember stuff. But anyways, next point. In the fight scene, when Black Lightning shows up to the march to, save the people, this was a cool use of his powers. I liked how he, projected out that energy force field to block the bullets. That was awesome. I love the special effects in that scene and the creative use of his powers. Awesome. More stuff like that. Black Lightning shaping out just as someone who's very good with his lightning powers. I love it when we show superheroes doing creative stuff with their abilities. That was great. But I was confused in the end when Tobias drives up, in the distance, and he tells his henchwoman, I forget her name, to fire at him to shoot that bullet. I think he told her to shoot at Black Lightning, right? But the bullet hit the Reverend and went through the Reverend and hit that guy, Khalil, who is Jennifer's boyfriend. So I must have missed something. Does Black Lightning have the power to make bullets slide off of him or have a force field so that they go in a different direction? Because I was pretty sure Tobias told her to shoot at Black Lightning, but her bullet hit somebody else. So either she missed or she did shoot at Black Lightning, but the bullet went around him. I mean, feel free to correct me in the comments. I might have missed it. I just watched the show and I'm going off a lot of stuff. Maybe I need to rewatch it again, but I didn't understand. Or maybe I heard him wrong. Maybe he didn't tell her to shoot Black Lightning. Maybe he told her to shoot the Reverend. But anyways, those are the things about this episode that stood out the most to me. You might have a lot of other things that stand out to you. But anyways, I'm liking Black Lightning a lot, and I do plan on watching it more and trying to get these videos out in time for the episodes. I know the episode came on like 2 days ago, but I'm working as fast as I can, people. But anyways, thank you for watching. I appreciate your viewership. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel if you'd like to watch me make more videos about DC movies and TV shows and Black Lightning, because I'm going to do it. And I will talk to you soon. Bye.